Hello everyone. We have discussed about how constructivism as a theory, or we can say as a construct, is helpful for teachers in order to improve their teaching learning process. We have also seen certain principles associated with this concept of constructivism. We also saw how constructivism is different from, or how constructivist approach is different from that of traditional approach, which we also call an expository approach. So moving ahead, it's important for us to know one more concept or one more approach, which is a traditional approach, and or we can call it an expository approach, or also objectivism. How it is different from constructivism. So we'll discuss more about this particular concept in today's presentation. Moving ahead, first aspect, the first criteria using which we'll be differentiating between objectivism and constructivism is knowledge. So including knowledge, we'll have altogether 9 points on the basis of which we will differentiate objectivism and constructivism. We have a fairly good idea of what exactly constructivism is and how it is different from that of traditional approach. But the major underlying basis of the traditional approach or expository approach is objectivism. So let us see how different they are from each other using 9 different criteria. So the first one is knowledge. We all know what knowledge is. So under objectivism, or approach of objectivism, believes that knowledge exists outside of individuals and can be transferred from teachers to students. So objectivism is of the belief that knowledge is something, an entity which is outside the individual, and when a child comes to a college or comes to school, they do not possess any knowledge. It is an entity which the teacher has to transfer, which exists outside into the individual. That's what objectivism believes in. And objectivism also believes that knowledge is fixed. Okay, knowledge is fixed. Now let us see what exactly constructivism is and how it differs from objectivism in this particular criterion of knowledge. According to constructivism, knowledge has personal meaning. It is constructed or created by each and every student. See, if you notice these 2 points, constructivism believes that knowledge has personal meaning, and objectivism believes that knowledge exists outside of individuals, which can be transferred from teachers to students. And this believes that it is constructed or created by each and every individual. So there is a lot of difference between objectivism and constructivism when we think about knowledge, because constructivist theory or constructivist approach believes that knowledge is within the individual and it is something which has to be created by the individual with the support of more knowledgeable other, which objectivism doesn't believe in. Objectivism believes that it is an entity which is outside, which needs to be transferred by a more knowledgeable other whom they consider as a teacher to the students. According to constructivism, knowledge is uncertain, tentative, pragmatic, and evolutionary. Objectivism, as you can see, believes that knowledge is fixed. So say suppose one person is telling that this particular object is square in shape. Okay, so no matter what, even if someone comes with a new aspect or new idea regarding that particular object, it won't change according to those who believe in objectivism. But constructivist approach believes in a thing that, say suppose if I call this particular object as square, but if someone else square in shape, but if someone else comes up with a better theory and better evidences which proves that it is not square but it is a rectangle, then we have to believe him or her based on the evidences she or he is providing. So according to constructivism, knowledge is uncertain. Whatever that we are studying right now may not be true after some years. It's tentative, isn't it? Because there are chances, a lot of work that is going on in every field. So whatever that we are studying now is tentative. It's not permanent. After some years, it might come to a surprise that whatever that we learned for so many years was not correct. It was proven wrong by another person who looked at that particular aspect in a different manner. Okay, which can be true for the new knowledge as well after some years. Okay, pragmatic. The meaning of pragmatic is very wide. It's actually a concept, or it's a domain which is very different. It is a philosophical, it has some philosophical ending in a way. It has a philosophical perspective. Pragmatism is working or doing something. It's like practicing it or hands-on. Pragmatic involves doing something with involvement with activity, something which requires a hand-on experience or something which can be done practically. It's what pragmatic is about. And evolutionary, because knowledge is something which will evolve as years pass by, which objectivism doesn't believe in, because objectivism believes that knowledge is fixed. So this is the difference between objectivism and constructivism when we consider knowledge as one of the criteria. Okay, so if you have to distinguish between objectivism and constructivism, you need to know what are the aspects or what are the points that constructivism believes in and what are those objectivism believes in. So these are the very important points you need to ponder upon when you will be asked to differentiate between objectivism and constructivism. Okay, moving ahead, we'll see one more criterion using which these two concepts are differentiated. In the second criterion is learning. So let us see what objectivism says about learning, or what objectivism believes learning is. According to objectivist approach, students can learn what they hear and what they read. If a teacher explains abstract concepts well, students will learn those concepts. Okay, I hope this is clear. And learning is considered to be passive according to objectivism. Now let us just read what is constructivism and what is learning according to constructivism. So here constructivism believes that learners construct their own knowledge by looking for meaning and order. Okay, so here learners construct their own knowledge. They interpret what they hear, read and see based on their previous learning habits. So their interpretation is based on various things like hearing, reading and what they see based on their previous learning experiences. So what they are doing in the present moment, when it is linked to whatever that they knew about the topic earlier, would determine that they are learning. But according to objectivism, it believes that you need a teacher to explain a concept which is abstract in form so that the students can learn it. And they can learn only when they hear and read. And there is no involvement of previous knowledge, because it is believed that students do not possess any previous knowledge, or in a way that previous knowledge has no role to play in the process of learning according to objectivism, which is not considered to be true in the constructivist approach, which believes that previous knowledge plays a very important role. And we have already discussed about how this assimilation, accommodation and equilibrium plays a very important role in this concept of learning, and how what you're doing or what activity you're doing, how actively you're involved plays a major role in learning a given concept. In constructivism, learning is considered to be an active process. So if you see here in objectivism, you can see that learning is considered to be a passive process, because there is only one-way traffic. Only the teacher is instructing or transacting the information, and there is no interaction from the end of the student. But as we have seen before, constructivism is something very active involvement of students is involved. That's why the overall learning process or the teaching learning process turns out to be an active one. So this is how objectivism and constructivism are different when we talk about learning as one of the criteria to discuss on. So far we have seen how objectivism and constructivism is different in terms of how it perceives knowledge to be, because objectivism believes that knowledge is fixed, but constructivism believes that knowledge is something tentative, pragmatic, evolutionary. Okay, and also in the second criterion, that is learning, wherein we saw learning is something which is considered to be passive, but in constructivism it is considered to be an active process, and it believes that constructivist approach believes that previous knowledge plays a very important role, and learning depends on what they interpret of what they do. Okay, which in objectivism is not considered to be true. Moving ahead, we'll see the next criterion, that is teacher's role. We all know what teacher's role is and what does it mean. So let us see how different is teacher's role in objectivist classroom and that of constructivist class. So in objectivism, teacher is a fact teller or an expert and is a dictator of learning. The second point is teacher is manipulative and authoritative. And in constructivism, teacher is a facilitator, collaborator as well as a learner. And the teacher is assertive and democratic. So, if you look at the difference between objectivism and constructivism, only by reading you can make out how different these two concepts are from each other when we talk about teacher's role. So, in objectivism, as you can read, teacher is someone who is considered to be an expert of the field, as in teacher is considered to be the epitome of that knowledge which the students have come to gain. Okay, and is also considered to be a dictator or a fact teller. But here in constructivist approach, teacher is called as a learner as well, because the teacher is someone who is learning with the students too, because we can learn a lot from our students as well. So teacher is considered to be a learner. Teacher is considered to be a collaborator. Why collaborator? Because the teacher will assist the students in learning something, and while doing that or while assisting, the teacher also in turn gains some new information or gains some new knowledge while he or she interacts with the students. And also a facilitator, because teacher's role is not of a dictator. In constructivism, instead, teacher is considered to be a person who would help or guide the students in completing the task or completing an activity which he or she would knows. And the second point in objectivism, if you read, you can see that teacher is manipulative and authoritative. Authoritative as in whatever that the teacher says should be done and should be done that way itself. There is no way out for the students to put their viewpoints in the process of teaching and learning. And manipulative, because teacher can decide what to do, teacher can change if something she wants to, but students has no role to play there. But unlike objectivism, in constructivism, teacher's role or teacher is considered to be assertive and democratic, because here the students are given the maximum freedom to learn whichever way they are comfortable with teacher's role being just as a facilitator, collaborator as well as a learner. So this is how different is environment or role of a teacher in objectivist classroom and in constructivist classroom. So far we have seen how objectivism and constructivism is different based on knowledge, based on the kind of what is considered to be learning or what is the concept of learning which is understood by objectivism and constructivism. And the third point is teacher's role. So what role a teacher plays in a constructivist classroom and in a objectivist classroom. So few more points of differentiation between objectivism and constructivism we will discuss in our upcoming lectures. So if you have any doubt with regard to the concept or the points that were discussed in this particular lecture, please feel free to type it in the chat box. Thank you.